Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sankhaya, Jai Bhim, and welcome you all in Navayana Buddhist Sangha short dialogue. We have with us Venerable Professor Bodhi, and today we will discuss on the very small concept, but a very important concept, which came from our recent discussion on very fundamental law of Buddhism called Praticca Samappada, where Sir used to discuss the concept called Idappaccayata. So today I request Professor Bodhi to please throw some light on this very fundamental and basic concept, Idappaccayata. Please, sir.
Thank you so much, Sujit. Yes, based on the discussion we had on the law of dependent origination, or the Patiksha Samuppada, few of our friends have kind of sought clarification of what Idappaccayata means. So it's important for us to kind of just discuss and reflect, because it is a very difficult concept to understand. Like many other things in Buddhism, Buddhism itself is a very difficult framework. It's a very difficult philosophy. It's a very difficult religion. If you ask me very frankly, of all the religions in the world, I think Buddhism is the most difficult to understand and the most challenging to be part of. And the reasons are plenty, because if you look, many people have called Buddhism an adult philosophy. And the reason for that is because it's so difficult. And there's nothing wrong with other philosophies, but it's just that people are kind of using this kind of a language to explain the difficulty embedded in Buddhism. And the reason is because in Buddhism, one is that there is no God. So there's no creator God. It doesn't even submit to the notion of the first unmoving principle or the intelligent design. So sometimes people they used to ask me, like, if there's no creator God, in Buddhism you say there's no creator God, then where did this world come from? And the Buddhist answer is that this world came from nothing. And people get shocked. How can something come out of nothing? It is illogical to make that kind of an argument. And not only that, when people say, but what is this nothing that you are talking about? And the Buddhist answer is, it was never there in the beginning, it will never be there in the end. There is no beginning and the end to this nothing. So now when you enter thinking processes of that particular kind that defies logic, then it becomes very difficult to explain to the world how a Buddhist thinks about the world, And within Buddhism, if that is the case, there is no creator God, something came out of nothing, and this nothing has no beginning and no end, then how did this whole reality come about? And in the teachings of Shakyamuni, all of this reality is governed by a law, and that law is called the Patiksha Samappada, in which we have discussed in the last video. Now, what is very interesting is that at the very core of the Patiksha Samappada lies this concept called the Idappaccayata. And this was something spoken by many elderly bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and people with deep insights from deep practices that they've had. I've heard and read many of the theras from Thailand, from Sri Lanka, from Myanmar, and listen to their insights when they speak about the Idappaccayata. I mean, I myself find it very difficult to understand, because at a personal level, I have not really experienced it myself. I'm just speaking in the theoretical sense. I have not had a direct experience. But what is said about the Idappaccayata is it is at the very core of the Patiksha Samappada. And this was arrived at through a direct experience by Shakyamuni himself. This was supposed to be the third insight in his night of awakening. And it's supposed to be one of the most radical philosophical insights of Shakyamuni. It's like a method that he discerned through direct experience, arising from what in the beautiful suttas is said. Shakyamuni was stated to have said, the minute I began to experience this, vision arose, insight arose, discernment arose, knowledge arose, illumination arose. And what is it that arose through direct experience? He says, for the purpose of ending dukkha, the process of causality can be understood entirely in terms of conditions and conditionalities in the realms of direct experience, without any need of referring to any force operating outside of that particular realm of direct experience. Now, this is, for anybody who comes from a philosophical point of view, this is a so it's like Shakyamuni had a direct experience of this law. So in many ways, the Idappaccayata is also spoken as the Buddhist law concerning the principles of causality. Like all things arise and exist due to certain causes and condition, and also ceases when the cause are removed. So people generally speak of Idappaccayata as a principle of causality. There are others, very, very senior theras, who have spoken about the Idappaccayata as the Buddhist law of nature itself. Everything that exists in this nature exists simply because of the necessary conditions. Nothing that you see in nature, everything is just life is a stream of conditionalities and conditions, each condition giving rise to another condition, each conditionality giving rise to another conditionality. Nothing independent in itself. Everything is dependently co-arising in terms of phenomena. And that is what we experience in terms of our lives. So that which you consider nature from a Buddhist perspective are just streams of conditionalities that exist simply because of the existing of the requisite necessary conditions. Now, there are 12 links which we have spoken in the Paticca Samuppada, which I think is very fundamental. And in every link, there are two words, Pakaya and Nirodha. Pakaya is arising, Nirodha is cessation. And he gave Avijja Pakaya Sankara, Sankara Pakaya Vijnana, Vijnana Pakaya Nama Rupa, so on and so forth. And then you come with cessation. With this awareness, Nirodha, then that also ceases. When this ceases, that also ceases. When this ceases, that also ceases, till you reach Avijja. So this law, which is embodied in the Paticca Samuppada, actually is something that has turned into a method in Buddhism. Like many people who are training in Buddhist thinking, this is the first thing that they have to confront. How do I think in a manner that is even outside of the frame of logic and so on and so forth, yet grounded fundamentally in what is called the this-that conditionality. The Idappaccayata is also translated sometimes as this/that conditionality. And the reason is simple, because the sutta says something like this. Shakyamuni would have stated that when this is one condition, that is arises another condition. With the arising of this comes the arising of that. And then he goes, when this isn't, that isn't. With the cessation of this comes the cessation of that. Now, as a discussion, it sounds, I mean, it's difficult, but it sounds okay. It's not such a difficult thing to understand. And many people have said that this lies at the very core of Buddhist thinking, at the very core of Buddhist thinking. If someone was to ask us, how do Buddhists think? What is the method of thinking in Buddhism? The Idappaccayata lies at the very core of the thinking. It is only when we have had a clarity, that's why even Shakyamuni says, even the discussion that we had about the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths can only be discerned, can only be understood after you have understood the Patiksha Samuppat. And at the very core of the Patiksha Samuppat is the Idappaccayata. So if someone asks us, how do Buddhists think? This is how Buddhists think. But as you can see, the proposition is such a difficult process that it really takes both thinking and both deep practice to be able to discern and to have, like Shakyamuni, a direct experience of this law. So beyond this, I do not know what more we can discuss, at least at this point in time. But as things arise, we can keep on thinking about this, because this is very fundamental. And as I said, Buddhism is a processual philosophy, which means with every engagement, you deepen your insights about reality. You deepen your insights about these basic laws which Shakyamuni discovered through his own engagement, enlightened on a particular night, and had a direct experience of these processes. So I think this should suffice today, and probably in the next discussion we can carry on. So with these few words, thank you so much, Sujit.
Yes, thank you so much for this clarification of very basic concept of Idappaccayata. And thank you all for watching this video. And we will come back and we will clarify the small concept of Buddhism in upcoming videos. So thank you all. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.